Right now, Earth feels stable, the oceans calm, the sky normal, and life moving in a predictable rhythm. But in the vast universe, nothing is truly stable, because somewhere far away in the darkness of space, a black hole exists with gravity so powerful that it bends light, time, and reality itself. And if Earth ever started moving towards such an object, the first thing that would happen would not be visible to human eyes, because space would begin to distort long before the danger becomes obvious. Satellites would slowly drift out of their expected positions. GPS systems would start showing small but unusual errors. Atomic clocks would lose perfect synchronization, and scientists would realize that something invisible is interfering with the structure of space itself. Not by force like a collision, but by gravity stretching across unimaginable distances. And as Earth continues its silent journey toward the black hole, the moon would begin to behave strangely in its orbit no longer, following the exact predictable path it has followed for billions of years. Tides on Earth would begin to rise higher than ever recorded before, not because of storms, but because gravity itself is being unevenly pulled from one side of the planet to the other. Oceans would start to move like a single connected mass, responding to forces that no human structure could resist. Coastal cities would experience flooding without explanation, and yet at this stage, most people would still not understand what is happening, because nothing in everyday human experience prepares the mind for a cosmic-scale gravitational distortion. But as Earth moves closer, the effects will become impossible to ignore. The planet will begin to feel subtle stress in its structure, not breaking suddenly, but stretching slowly as the space itself is pulling in opposite directions. Continents would experience increasing seismic activity, not from traditional tectonic movement, but from external gravitational strain. And the shape of Earth will begin to distort ever so slightly, not noticeable in a single moment, but visible when compared over time. And this is where reality begins to shift in a way that breaks human intuition, because gravity near a black hole does not act like gravity on Earth. It becomes uneven, extreme, and violent over distance, meaning one side of the planet would feel a much stronger pull than the other. And this difference is enough to slowly elongate the entire planet, stretching it in. A process scientists call tidal deformation, and as this continues, the sky itself will begin to look wrong. Stars would appear slightly shifted from their known positions. Light from distant galaxies would bend as it passes near the black hole's influence, creating a cosmic lensing effect that warps everything we see. And at this stage, Earth is still far from the event horizon, yet the effects are already planetary in scale, meaning what we consider reality is already being rewritten by invisible forces. And as the pull increases further, oceans would no longer behave like water in a container, but like a global fluid responding to a single dominant force. Waves hundreds of meters high would form not from wind, but from gravitational imbalance. Entire weather systems would collapse into chaotic motion, and human civilization would begin to experience cascading failures in technology. Communication systems would go unstable, electrical grids would fluctuate unpredictably, and scientists would finally confirm what is happening: that Earth is not being attacked by any physical object in traditional sense, but is instead falling into a gravitational field so strong that it reshapes space-time itself. And once this realization spreads, the psychological impact would be even more severe than the physical effects, because humanity would understand that there is no possible way to stop or reverse the movement. No engine, no explosion, no planetary defense system capable of resisting a black hole. And as Earth continues its inevitable path forward, the distortion of space would increase to a point where the planet itself begins to stretch more visibly, continents slowly shifting apart under tidal stress, the atmosphere behaving unpredictably, as if layers of air being pulled in different directions. And time itself would begin to behave strangely, with clocks in different locations losing synchronization, meaning that even time is no longer consistent across the planet. And this marks the beginning of the most terrifying realization that physics itself is no longer stable. And as Earth approaches further, the black hole becomes indirectly visible through its effects, not as a glowing object, but as a region of absolute darkness bending everything around it, light from behind it wrapping unnaturally, stars disappearing behind invisible curves in space. And at this point, Earth is no longer a stable sphere, but a slowly deforming world caught in an unstoppable cosmic descent, where every second brings it closer to a boundary from which no information, no matter, and no signal can ever return. And yet the most terrifying truth is still ahead, because crossing the event horizon is not the end of destruction, but a beginning of complete breakdown of everything we understand about existence itself. As Earth continues its impossible journey toward the black hole, The changes that once seemed small and scientific now become global and terrifying, because gravity is no longer acting like a quiet, invisible force holding everything together, but instead begins behaving like a dominant hand pulling the entire planet toward a single unavoidable direction. And the closer Earth gets, the more reality itself begins to lose stability. Satellites are no longer able to maintain orbit and begin falling. Out of sync, communication signals between countries start breaking into random delays and distortions. GPS systems become unreliable across continents, and scientists now confirm that Earth is entering a region of space where the curvature of space-time is no longer negligible but overwhelming. And at this stage, the Moon begins to show visible instability in its orbit, with one side of Earth being pulled significantly stronger than the other, causing the planet to elongate further, stretching slowly into an increasingly distorted shape. Oceans no longer behave like stable bodies of water, but begin to flow uncontrollably across the surface. Atmosphere becomes unstable and begins to strip away in layers, and the structural integrity of the planet itself begins to fail under the overwhelming tidal forces. And yet, even this destruction happens in slow motion from a relativistic perspective, because time near the black hole is no longer consistent with the rest of the universe. And as Earth continues its descent, the concept of up and down begins to lose meaning entirely, because gravity no longer pulls toward the surface, but instead pulls toward a single central direction in space-time. And at this stage, Earth is no longer a stable planet, but a stretching mass of matter responding to forces far beyond geological or atmospheric limits. And as it moves deeper, the surrounding universe outside the event horizon becomes increasingly distorted. Light from distant galaxies bends into arcs. Entire star fields appear to rotate unnaturally, and space itself seems to curve like a funnel, drawing everything toward a central point of collapse. And this is when most disturbing realization emerges. Inside a black hole, you are not moving through space in the normal sense anymore. Instead, you are moving through time toward a final destination that cannot be avoided. And as Earth continues toward this fate, every structure on the planet experiences increasing stress until the very concept of solid ground becomes meaningless, because matter itself is being pulled apart at atomic levels. And yet, despite all this destruction, the journey continues, unstoppable, irreversible, and governed not by chance, but by the fundamental laws of physics. And as Earth moves deeper still, the light around it begins to fade, not because it is turning off, but because it is being stretched, diluted, and trapped within the curvature of space-time, until eventually the planet enters a region where even external observation becomes impossible, marking the point where Earth is no longer visible to the outside universe. Not because it has disappeared, but because information itself can no longer escape to be observed. And this is where the true horror of black holes becomes clear. They do not just destroy objects, they erase the ability to know what happens to them. As Earth moves beyond the limits of observation, something fundamental changes about its existence. Not because it suddenly stops existing, but because existence itself becomes untraceable, as all signals, all light, and all information become trapped within the extreme curvature of space-time. And from the outside universe, there is only silence where a living planet once was, a fading imprint of gravitational influence that slowly disappears into the darkness of the black hole. But within this final stage, inside the collapsing structure of reality, Earth is no longer a planet in any traditional sense, because the forces acting upon it have exceeded every known limit of matter, and the planet is now stretched into a long, thinning structure under the immense tidal forces, a process often described as spaghettification on a scale so large that it affects an entire world, where mountains flatten, oceans stretch into streams, continents lose structural integrity, and even atoms begin to separate as the gravitational gradient becomes infinitely stronger the closer one gets to the center. And yet this destruction is not experienced in a normal linear way, because time itself is no longer consistent, meaning different parts of Earth experience different moments simultaneously. Some regions still existing in slow motion, while others are already deeper in collapse. And as everything is pulled inward, Earth approaches the most mysterious point in all of physics, the singularity, where all known laws of science break down completely, because density becomes infinite, space becomes infinitely curved, and time no longer has a defined meaning. And at this stage, Earth is no longer matter in space, but information being compressed beyond comprehension, a transformation so extreme that even the concept of object becomes meaningless, and scientists believe that at the singularity, all known physics equations stop working, leaving only speculation about what truly exists there. And this is where the ultimate theories of black holes begin, because while one theory suggests total destruction where everything is crushed into infinite density and lost forever, another suggests that information is never truly destroyed but encoded on the event horizon in a holographic form, meaning Earth's entire existence can be preserved as a kind of cosmic memory, not as matter, but as data written into the structure of space itself. While another theory suggests that black holes could be gateways, not endings, but transitions to entirely different regions of the universe, or even entirely different universes, with a matter that falls and is not destroyed but transformed and released elsewhere. And there are even more speculative ideas suggesting that what we call reality may itself be a simulation, and black holes could represent points where information is transferred, reset, or rewritten within a deeper system of existence. But none of these theories can be proven from within the event horizon, because all communication is permanently cut off, leaving only mathematics and imagination to attempt to describe what happens beyond that boundary. And as Earth is drawn deeper into the singularity, the final moments of structural existence dissolve into pure gravitational collapse, where atoms lose identity, particles lose separation, and even time ceases to flow in any meaningful direction, until finally there is no Earth left as an object, no form, no structure, only a transition of energy and information moving into a state that no human experience can ever fully comprehend. And from the outside universe, nothing dramatic is seen in real time, only a slow fading of gravitational influence as the black hole absorbs what remains, leaving behind an emptiness that suggests disappearance, but never confirms it. And this is a final paradox of black holes. They do not show you an ending. They only remove the ability to observe it, and yet within this unimaginable collapse, there is still a strange emotional truth hidden in the science, because everything that ever existed on Earth, every person, every city, every memory, every moment of life, is not violently erased in a single instant, but slowly carried into one of the most extreme environments in the universe, transformed by forces so powerful that they redefine existence itself. And in that sense, even the end of Earth is not just destruction, but journey into the deepest mystery of reality, a place where science, philosophy, and imagination all collide, leaving us with one final thought. The universe is not only stranger than we imagine, it may be stranger than we are capable of imagining, and as the darkness of the black hole finally consumes all remaining traces of Earth, there is only silence, not because nothing remains, but because nothing can return to tell the story of what truly happened.